Pam in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hey, Pam, thanks for watching Free Speech. What's up?
Hi. I was just reading your book this weekend, or kind of skimming it, on the Supreme Court, and my concern about what should be happening later today. And, I had a couple of thoughts about how to fix the court. You laid out some, like you talk about court stripping, and the problem with that is that it can be done and then undone when the balance of power shifts. But also adding seats could work that way too, so it just goes back and forth. But clearly what's going on today is just, I don't feel like the court represents me at all, just not even close. And I don't really feel comfortable with them being able to make decisions, with that kind of lineup, with that seriously minority rule. So it's very concerning. Right. And I'm also thinking about all the federal judges. The Supreme Court judges you can't make the case they're just incompetent, but a lot of those federal judges were just unqualified. Passing legislation that says judges have to perform at a certain level could help with that. But it just needs to be restructured. We need to do the term limits, and I think we need to pass some legislation that helps us. One thing I can't seem to get around, because I think the Constitution says the president puts them up for the Senate to advise and consent. But it would be nice to have a neutral body putting these people out as just competent judges and not partisan puppets.
Well, up until the last 20 years, it was always the American Bar Association. The Bush administration started using the Federalist Society recommendations, and Trump made it nothing but. It was all Federalist Society all the time. But your points are all well taken, Pam. The one thing that I would add that's not in my book, and I wish I had thought about it or somebody had told me about it while I was writing the book, and I read a lot of stuff when I was doing the research for that book about how to fix the Supreme Court. And nowhere did I come across this suggestion. But somebody called in with us a couple days ago, and it was brilliant. He said, why don't we pass a law, since Congress has the power to regulate the court, and it's explicit right there in Article 3, Section 2, 3.2, that Congress can pass a law saying that if the court is going to exercise judicial review, they must have a supermajority. They must have, 7 out of 9 votes, for example, or a percentage, that represents that in the event that we're going to expand the size of the court. And that seemed like that made a lot of sense, because there's an enormous in fact, the last 80, this is Sheldon Whitehouse was talking about this, there were 80 5-4 decisions where all 5 votes were Republican nominees, all 4 no votes were Democratic nominees. And every single one of those 80 principally benefited billionaires and big corporations, and principally screwed average working people or the environment. And and these were all decisions that were decided on a constitutional basis. They were using judicial review in every single one of these cases. So why not require a supermajority? I mean, that seems like a good idea too. And Stephanie in Orange Beach, Alabama. It says here you disagree with me, Stephanie, so you go right to the front of the line. What's up?
Well, I want to know that if the Democrats or progressives feel like it's okay to pack the court, then if after November 3rd, President Trump wins re-election and the Republicans hold the Senate, then do you also feel like it's okay for the Republicans to go ahead and preemptively pack the court with conservative judges, since the Democrats have already, that's their plan if they win? So if the Republicans win, should they go ahead and preemptively do that just to make it harder for the Democrats down the road? Do you think that's right?
Well, I think they already have, Stephanie. Mitch McConnell held Merrick Garland's nomination for 344 days. And,
no, I understand
and then gave that seat to Neil Gorsuch. And then Anthony Kennedy's son, when his... Wait, let me just finish what I'm saying, Stephanie. I'll give you all the time you want. And then Anthony Kennedy's son got tied up with Donald Trump in this huge scandal. Anthony Kennedy's son was the head of commercial banking for Deutsche Bank. And he was the guy who signed off on $1 billion in loans to Donald Trump, $300 million of which Donald Trump defaulted on. his son apparently had a conversation with Anthony Kennedy, who, in great health, resigned from the Supreme Court to make space for Brett Kavanaugh, and then now we've got Amy Coney Barrett. And frankly, I'm not a big fan of we should wait until the election. I think that what the Republicans are doing right now with Barrett is they're well within their rights to do it. I think that the Democrats, instead of saying you shouldn't do this close to an election, which is using Mitch McConnell's lie from 4 years ago, they should be saying, you stole Garland's seat. We're going to steal Barrett's seat by blocking you. But the fact of the matter is they don't have the power to do that. But Stephanie, they preempted, and not only that, the last 2 years of the Obama administration, over 100 federal judgeships came open, and Mitch McConnell the other day marveling, I had 246 federal judges my first 3 years. Nobody's ever had that many. Well, nobody's ever had that many because in the history of the entire 240-year history of the United States Senate, no Senate Majority Leader has ever blocked a sitting president from having any of his judicial appointees considered for two full years, which is what McConnell did to Obama. So I think it's pretty egregious, Stephanie.
Well, I think you have a fair point, but I will say that everything Mitch McConnell did was within the bounds of the law. He didn't do anything that he didn't have the authority to do. And that is the way our government is set up. It's the way it works. He used the powers that were given to him by the people who elected him and by the Constitution. And so you can say he didn't fight fair, but, he used the tools that were given to him. Now, maybe
I agree. And all's fair in love and politics. And
I thought he's...
Forgive my interrupting you, Stephanie, after I asked you not to interrupt me, but I think we just have a minute and a half left here before the end of the hour. So I just want to make a quick point, which is then if the Democrats take the Senate and the White House, they will be within the law and within their right to expand the number of justices on the Supreme Court, right? You'll grant that point, I'm assuming.
Certainly, just like the Republicans would be if they hold the House and if they hold the Senate and the presidency. They could expand it to 15 and put all, you know what I mean? Does that sound like a good idea? I mean...
Well, actually, I think it is a good idea whether it's done by Republicans or Democrats. Because the court used to be the final court of appeals. They get about 10,000 referrals a year. And last year, I think they heard 186 cases. And they decided most of those on constitutional grounds. And so as a result, the final court of appeals is not available to most Americans any longer. So if they were to expand it to 15 or even 13 and do it like they do with the appeals courts, where you can have a small panel of 3 people to hear the case, or you can have a larger panel or whatever, and you can process a lot more cases, I think that'd be a good thing. And I think we need to expand our federal courts as well, right across the board, because, they're stuck where they were in 1950 when there were literally half as many people in the United States as there are now. Maybe slightly more than half, but, our population has pretty much doubled in my lifetime.
Yes. And
certainly the planet's population has, but I'm pretty sure the United States has. So I think that we should grow with the times. So, Stephanie, are we in agreement here?
I don't know if one side packs the court, the next time around, the other side will do it again, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
Then we'll end up with 1,000 Supreme Court justices. And I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, yes and no, because if like when Andrew Johnson became president, when Lincoln was assassinated, Congress met. At that point in time, Lincoln had taken the court from 9 up until 10. Because, he added a 10th justice because he wanted an anti-slavery vote. And they reduced it down to 7, so Andrew Johnson couldn't put anybody on. But that didn't kick anybody off. So, it's a little tougher to do it kind of on the back end like that. But anyhow, Stephanie, thank you for the call. Thanks for a civil conversation. I appreciate it.